So I am kind of a procrastinator in the fact that if I have something coming up, I just don't do it until like the night before. And so when it comes around time for me to make my videos, usually I don't know what the video is going to be about until like the day I'm going to do it. And so I didn't know what my video was going to be. And then I went on Netflix and I was like, oh, this thing called Jupiter's Legacy is #1. Why don't I just review that? And it set me up to watch the entire thing in one sitting. It's not good for my health, but I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Ava and you're watching WWM Productions. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. If you do, make sure to click that like button and subscribe. And if you're returning, thank you so much. We love having you. Yesterday, I put my binge watching skills to the test and I absorbed the entire season of Jupiter's Legacy in one sitting. That's about 6 hours straight and it hurt my eyeballs, but I did it for you guys. I wanted to bring you guys relevant content 2 days after a show drops because I am such a dedicated creator, as you can tell by me missing an upload 2 weeks ago. But no matter, we are here to discuss Jupiter's Legacy and whether it's any good. So here we go, without further ado, my unbridled thoughts and feelings on Jupiter's Legacy. Firstly though, if you haven't watched the show and you plan on doing so, click away right now and go watch it and then come back because there are certainly spoilers ahead. Now, if you're still watching the video, you've either seen the show or you just don't care. Either are completely valid options. But either way, I'm going to give you a little bit of a description just to jog your memory. This show follows the Sampson family, Sheldon, Grace, Walt, Brandon, and Chloe, with a few different side characters sprinkled in for good measure. What is special about these characters is that they have superpowers! Now, the parents had to go through these crazy trials to get these powers, but the kids, their legacies if you will, were just born with them. Brandon likes being a superhero. Chloe likes Coke. Both of them have daddy issues. The big deal with these superheroes, their team is called the Union, by the way, and I just took my APUSH exam, so all I could think about every time they said the title was just the potential of them facing off against a supervillain named Robert Evil Lee. But that's besides the point. Anyways, these heroes have a code established by their leader, the Utopian, aka Sheldon Sampson, where they are just not allowed to kill people under any circumstances whatsoever. The whole moral conflict of the show arises when Brandon kills a bad guy in order to save his parents and like half of a city, you know, because the bad guy's about to explode, like nuclear bomb style. And Brandon's like, maybe we should stop him. And then his dad was like, no, how dare you. Also, the show bounces back and forth between the Great Depression and the present. Now that we've got that all out of the way, let's talk. Overall, in terms of watchability, it's definitely watchable. Maybe not the most profound, thought-provoking show in existence, but entertaining enough to get a pass. If you liked Sky High as a kid, but you've grown up a little bit, this might be the perfect show for you. Some of the themes are really similar, especially with the whole, my parents are the most powerful superheroes in the universe, how will I ever live up to that plotline? Plot aside for now, if you're into gore, you'll definitely get some. But I would like to specify to you, you will only get some. The show will present you with a smashed in head or a severed arm or something, and it'll be really gory. But these instances are so far and few between that it makes them feel out of place. There are shows like Love, Death, and Robots and movies like the Saw franchise that are very gory and they do it well. A lot of that comes from the fact that the audience is kind of expecting to see gore, but the filmmakers time it correctly, so it's still unsettling, but it's consistent. Honestly, this show could have used gore well. See The Boys if you want a superhero show that uses gore to its advantage. But it just didn't use enough, I guess? Every time they had something bloody or disembodied, it just felt wrong because they leaned into the gore so much in one episode and then they just forgot about it in the next, and then they would CG some blood into one scene in the next episode, and so on and so on. I almost feel like each episode ended up deserving a different rating. The special effects weren't that great in any other respect either, most notably with the old age makeup they used for their ambiguously aging main characters. They looked like middle-aged with gray wigs on or something, and they were supposed to be 120 years old. They're only that old too, definitely, because the creators liked the aesthetic of the Great Depression but not the 60s, I guess. They only wanted one generation to pass between 1930 and 2021. Whatever, I'm too hung up on these people's ages anyways. Okay, but yeah, the show is mature. They've got the blood, they've got the swear words, they've got the drugs, they got the special adult hugging. But the story itself is kind of young. There are definitely parts of the story, like I said, that are mature, but most of the conflicts just seemed very simple. They were along the lines of like, I think we need to challenge tradition. I need to find my long-lost dad. We need to go on a magical quest to get superpowers. Are any of these inherently bad storytelling? I don't think so. Like I mentioned, they're all perfectly watchable. It's just that shows like The Boys exist and they do the whole superhero thing and they have conflicts that are just so much more interesting. Even shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision take on moral conflicts that are more compelling than anything in Jupiter's Legacy. That is, if you're okay watching something that's appropriate for kids. Any of those shows, though, I highly recommend. They're all fantastic. The other place that the show kind of shot itself in the foot, though, was its characters. The show has so many main characters, and it kind of dedicates each episode to developing another character, which I think is a great idea when you have an ensemble cast. The thing is, though, every episode was also kind of dedicated to the flashbacks, which were all essentially just dedicated to Sheldon Sampson. This is okay because he's the main character, but also it's not okay because they picked like the least compelling one to be their main character. Literally his only character defining trait is that he doesn't like when people kill other people. Like, how unreasonable do you need to be to shame your son for killing a bad guy in order to save your life and contemplate letting that same bad guy kill your son so that you don't need to take a life? He is so self-righteous and so, like, stick to the rules, like, no nonsense kind of guy, even though everything we see of him when he's younger, he's just kind of off his rocker. Then he's supposedly so in love with Grace, but they gave me literally no reason to ship them. Sure, they seemed in love enough in the future, but in all of the flashbacks, it seemed more like they were trying to set Grace up with Walter, the more interesting brother. Walt has actual well-written character flaws. You know, he has chemistry with Grace, he has the coolest power, he's the smart one, he's a better father to Sheldon's kids than Sheldon is, and also he's the best actor. Like, he got the best performance scenes out of any of the other characters in the show. So tell me why they decided to end the season with giving him an afterthought of a kid and then making him turn evil just so that they could get a contrived twist ending? Make it make sense. I think they should have made Walter and Grace have an affair and ended the season with Sheldon flipping his lid and killing Grace. You know, instead of Walt killing his daughter that nobody cared about. That is, of course, only if the show wanted to stick with the idea that, you know, after building up the whole Skyfox threat, they want George to be utterly irrelevant to the final stinger of the finale. Also, if you want to talk about people who are irrelevant, the sixth member of the Union, you know, the one that Sheldon, like, yanks out of the sea, that I do not remember his name, he is, like, not in any of the present-day scenes. His only relevance is that his power rod ends up in the hands of Skyfox's kid. Now, if you've noticed that I've spent a lot of time talking about the older characters in a show that's supposedly about the next generation taking over, that is because no matter how hard they tried to develop the kids, it all came back to the adults. They started the show with an episode dedicated to Sheldon's son, Brandon, which also would have been a better direction to take the show, but then he ended up taking a backseat for the rest of the show until he was convenient for the plot. They did the same thing to George when he got his character development episode. He was a very compelling character. He had a lot of interesting flaws and traits. He also had this sort of like anthem, or I guess just favorite song, that was honestly kind of like bone-chilling when you hear it in the finale. There's all this build-up of him as like this terrifying villain, and it looks like he's gonna take down Walt, and then he's defeated, and then it's also unclear if he was even there to begin with. Like, how much of that finale was just Walt being sketchy? If that's not a cop-out, I don't know what is. I just think that this show suffered a lot because it had several great characters that could have had interesting character-defining moments, but they focused on the wrong one. Sheldon should have killed someone. Chloe should have saved someone. Grace should have left Sheldon. Walt should have gotten to battle his brother. Brandon should have taken over as the next Utopian. Those are just the things I would have liked to see, at least some of them. Maybe if there's another season, they will make some choices that will take the show from watchable to interesting. I don't feel like they achieved all that they could have with their story and their characters, so I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that a second season is coming to save the day. Maybe they'll tell me what Jupiter has to do with anything. Though maybe that's asking too much. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What did you think of Jupiter's Legacy? Are you going to stick around for season 2? Drop a like and comment, and make sure to check out the WWM Productions podcast, We Watch Movies. We post a new episode of the podcast every Wednesday and a new video every Sunday. Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We post some highlights of the podcast on there, so make sure to check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye!